Hi to the dreamers, my name is Jason and this is Dreamline Garage. So today we're going to be continuing the work on Eddie, but we got to do that by starting with some work on V. So, let's take a gander. Alright, so here we are. This is the front passenger wheel well of V. And we are starting this part 2 here because I need to bring another part over. The upper control arms on V need to go over to Eddie. Short story, the ball joints are different. And it's not a matter of putting the larger ball joints into the upper control arms that are already in Eddie because they are different sizes. Now, why do basically the exact same car, only separated by a single model year, have different equipment? Well, let me tell you. From 1960 to 1966 were considered the early A-bodies for Chrysler. And the A-bodies included the Dodge Dart, the Plymouth Valiant, the Plymouth Barracuda, and I want to say that and some of the 1960s old Dodge vans and pickups were also A-bodies. Although I might be wrong on that, somebody please fact check me. Anyway, and they were Chrysler Corporation's compact car. To look at them today, they don't look all that compact, but they are pretty small compared to, say, Polara, a big, huge B-body monster of a land yacht. Now, the early A-bodies had a much smaller ball joint, and frankly, the rest of the suspension was also fairly small compared to their larger counterparts. However, in 1967, they went to a more universal layout, and so they used all the same ball joints, they used all the same disc brake rotors, they used all the same drum brake drums, they used all the same, basically everything, and it came down to sheet metal, engine, and accoutrement, the trim levels of the cars, to really differentiate them. And that's kind of one of the cool things about Mopars is that we're able to find parts that we can readily use in cars as new as, I want to say the mid-'80s. Because they had kind of this universal platform that they went off of. Anyway, V here has an upper control arm with one of those later model, bigger, more universal ball joints. And we want that. In this case, bigger is better because it will allow us to, it's a bigger ball joint, it can hold more stress, and will it hopefully last longer over time. This particular one that's in here already will not, because the boot's junk. The boot's all sorts of torn up. Not sure from what. However, the control arms do need to get moved over to Eddie, and so we are going to start tearing these suckers apart, and I will get back to you guys as soon as they're out. Okay, so we're not fully disassembled yet, but I do have one of the mounting bolts out, and made me think of something that some of y'all might find rather interesting. So, as some of you know, some of you don't know, the alignment in a car, or the orientation of the wheels underneath the car, is very important. And every car, with the exception of some very old ones, have adjustments in some way, shape, or form. And there are many different ways of accomplishing this, and this is one way. So we'll look at this here. This is the mounting bolt. It goes into this rear one here. This is the mounting bolt for the upper control arm here. And you'll notice the washer here, well, it's not actually a washer. This is an adjustment lobe. And if you notice here, there is this is also machined flat because on the other side it has a matching washer that it slides into. All right. Now, the way that this works, if we come up in here, you can see that there's a couple of ears that this thing sits into. All right. Now, I'll use a wrench so that you guys can see easier. As we rotate this, which way is going to be easier for it to rotate? They're loose, so it's just gonna fall on me. Anyway, so as this rotates, it changes the position of this bolt in relation to basically in and out. And so you move them in relation to each other to push this whole thing in or out, or you can adjust them individually and adjust it this way. Now, doing this does a couple of things. So if we're looking this way on the car, and say the tire would be sitting here, if you adjust them both together, that adjusts what's called the camber, which is the inward or outward angle this way of the tire. So it kicks the top of the tire out and the bottom of the tire in, or vice versa. And then if you adjust them independently, that adjusts the toe, or which way the tire is steered, or at least rotated in relation to the neutral steering axis, because of course front wheels steer anyway. But this allows for different handling characteristics, different high speed and low speed handling characteristics. It also changes the way that your tires wear. Your alignment is very important for the longevity of your tires. So if you start noticing that, say, the inside or outside, the inside or outside tread of your tires is starting to wear before the rest of it. If you start seeing where it looks like your tires have look like they've been drug across the ground rather than rolled, then you probably need to get your alignment checked out, because it's probably out of whack and it's destroying your tires. Not that everybody needs to be rushing out to go get an alignment, but it is something to take into consideration. Anyway, as I continue to remove this, I thought I'd show you how the camber and toe are adjusted on an old Mopar, because basically all of them are basically the same setup. So it's this funky lobe alignment, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are cars that still, and I'm almost certain that there are cars that still use basically this setup. So I'm gonna keep pushing along, getting these pulled, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so here we are on the passenger side. I got the old one pulled out, and upon closer inspection, they're the exact same part. So this is not an updated version of that, and the ball joints are the same size. Now that's not a bad thing, because everything on V is better than what was on Eddie. So if you look here, this bit here that looks like metal in the center, that's rubber. As you can see, that one's missing, and you can kind of see some of it that's left over in the bottom. It's toast. It's trash, toast, Dunsky. So we're gonna be putting this one in. These bushings aren't the best, but they're way better than what was in here. And yeah, so we'll be taking care of this. And so that means that these might actually be the factory disc brake spindle. In fact, I'm almost certain these are the factory disc brake spindles. So I might even want to look at upgrading the spindles in the future. Which the Chrysler disc brakes are Chrysler disc brakes, so it's not going to matter too much if I go for an updated spindle so I can do the larger ball joint. I'm not bad. It's not bad. It's not a bad thing by any means. Just slightly different than what I thought. So we're gonna get these installed and call that a project. Alrighty then, so we are in, and I've got everything just kind of zeroed out as best I can, at about the midpoint of adjustment. We are running into kind of a funny thing where I'm not sure that ball joint's sitting all the way, but we'll get that figured later. For right now, they're in, and well, that's the project for today. Hopefully we'll be getting some hubs and rotors, and we can start getting the rest of the front end installed. And then the next big project to have to do with the front end and kind of the back end as well is that poor old master cylinder. So stay tuned for that, and this'll end it for us, and you guys keep on dreaming. I'll see you next time.